USI Mesa Installation can help. Call 602-346-9287 and get free spring training tickets. I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby.
Right now it's 88 degrees and the Dow is up 28 points at 17,707. S&P 500 up 4 at 2,060 and the NASDAQ is up 20 at 4884. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
And good afternoon. I'm Paul Fredricks, sitting in for the wonderful, magnanimous Bob Roth. He'll kill me for saying that, but hey, I am the Vice President of Client Services at Cypress HomeCare Solutions, and it is an honor to be sitting in his chair and behind his microphone as we bring you today's Health Futures, taking stock in you. We have a wonderful show set up for you today. We want you to take a deep breath, and the guest we have coming on in just a moment is going to help us do exactly that. But I just want to remind everybody, if you've got in-home care concerns, please call Cypress Home Care at 602-264-8009. Talk to our great staff there. They'll be able to help you out. Today we're going to talk about how to keep your lungs healthy and happy, how to breathe easier in a town that's full of dust and wind, whether you call it a monsoon or a dust storm or whatever it is. We're all battling the dust, and sometimes that can wreak havoc on our breathing. And we have a wonderful guest today who's going to be taking stock in you, because she is a renowned pulmonologist here in town. I've known her for several years working at Hospice of the Valley and now with Cypress HomeCare Solutions. Dr. Lorie Loreman, she is a specialist in pulmonology. She is a graduate of Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine and done an internship with Albert Einstein, right?
I did.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you get involved with pulmonary? What was that whole story?
I would love to tell you I was going to go in it whenever I knew I wanted to go in medicine, but I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. Decided that I couldn't take all the Tylenol I was taking or be overdosed, and decided that I needed to go into something more general, and pulmonary gave me a lot of specialty work and also gave me a fair amount of general medicine, so I get to do both, and I like that.
That's great. So you were thinking about being a pediatrician.
I was.
You would have been a great pediatrician.
I love kids, but when they're crying and hurting and the parents are all upset, it's a bit hard. God bless the pediatricians out there, because I don't think I could have done it.
Now we met at your office one time. I think it was over lunch. And the one thing I noticed about you right away was how you really reach out to your patients and really care for them. Where did you develop that?
You know, I think that just came somewhat naturally to me. I'm a little outgoing and love to take care of my patients. I love to know their histories. Everybody has a different history. And when you take time to listen, they'll give you the answers. And I get to meet a lot of unique people with what I do, and that is really interesting.
Oh, that's great, Dr. Loreman. Let's back up a little bit with pulmonology, and let's look at the history of pulmonology. When did pulmonologists and the study of pulmonary diseases, when did that become prevalent in our culture?
It really wasn't until the 1950s. It's a relatively new field in regards to medicine.
Okay.
When they began to notice the pulmonary circulation, that the blood wasn't going through holes in the heart out to the lung, and they could identify that. it started to be in its infancy there and really has taken off and progressed from there.
Oh, that's great. And then was it actually the study of pulmonary diseases and things like this, it's actually newer than some cancers that we know about. Right?
Oh, it's much newer.
Yeah. So that's amazing. That's something I didn't know. What are some of the most common pulmonary diseases that we wrestle with today?
I think the most common ones that I see certainly are lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, asthma, valley fever. They're kind of bread and butter of the practices that I think you see out here.
So let's talk about COPD. Something that's very common. We see it a lot. We saw it a lot with our hospice patients. Let's unpack that a little bit. What does that actually do to a set of lungs?
Well, it's a combination of chronic bronchitis where people have a lot of cough during the day for several months during the year, or emphysema where they actually have destruction of the lung. Chronic asthma can turn into that, and it's way underdiagnosed, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. And then how many Americans wrestle with this on an annual basis?
Right now, the thought is that there's at least 12 million Americans that are diagnosed and probably another 12 to 14 million that are not diagnosed.
Wow. So 12 million that are diagnosed and another 12 to 14 that are undiagnosed.
Correct.
Because they just refuse to go to the doctor? Or?
Because the symptoms are either put up to something else, or they think because they're aging they get short of breath, and nobody should get short of breath because they're aging.
Well, Ashley, our producer, talked about before the show, she said, can you talk about valley fever a little bit? That's a pulmonary illness, isn't it?
It is.
And what is that? Where does it come from? And let's unpack that one a little bit more.
Yeah, it's an interesting disease, and when I was spending time in Philadelphia, you always read about it in the books but didn't know it. It's really endemic to the Four Corners and to Arizona and the San Joaquin Valley in California, where it used to be called San Joaquin fever. It really presents like a flu-like illness. You get very, very fatigued, muscle aches. You may get a cough. You may get hives or what look like hives but could hurt. And a lot of times you resolve spontaneously, go to doctors for something else and have an abnormality on your chest x-ray, or you may get a pneumonia that's misdiagnosed as pneumonia. Could be actually valley fever. Wow.
And is it actually caught from the spores that are floating around in the dust? Is that?
It is. It's in the soil. It's caught from the soil. I always ask patients if their dogs are sick, because when the dogs are digging, they will often get it first.
Oh, wow.
And aerosolize it, and then the person will get it. It's not communicable person to person. But with all the dust storms that we have and all the construction out in the valley, we tend to see a lot of it. And the more construction, the more dust storms, the more we're seeing.
Wow. When you say communicable, it's not contagious from one to the other, right?
Not contagious person to person.
So like when I had it back when we were first married, my wife and I were first married, it was diagnosed initially as pneumonia. And then another doctor finally said, no, you've got valley fever. And I tell you, it wiped me out.
The fatigue can last upwards of a year and can be disabling for patients.
Yeah, I mean, I remember getting up feeling really well, like, oh, I'm feeling better. And then 2 hours later, I sleep for 4 hours.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big symptoms and the last symptom to go away.
Wow. So when you come to these pulmonary diseases, which one do you find most coming to your office on a regular basis?
COPD and asthma are probably the most that I see of.
Okay, talk about asthma. Where does this come from? What's its origins? All that good stuff.
Asthma is a genetic component. Whether you can find it or not is another thing. And it really is genetically down from family to family. It skips generations, and it's a reversible disease if caught early enough. Okay, we're coming up on our break. What's one thing we can do to keep our our lungs healthy right now? Do not smoke. Stay away from smoke. There you have it, right from the doctor's mouth, folks. There we are on Health Futures, and if you want to keep your lungs healthy, please stop smoking or don't start smoking right now. And if you need a little extra help in your home, please call Bob Roth. He's over at the office at 602-264-8009 with Cypress HomeCare Solutions. I'm Paul Fredricks, and we are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We appreciate it, and we will be back here in just a few moments.
and stay retired, safe, smart, and secure. How can you potentially avoid future losses in the stock market like the ones we've experienced in 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2008? Call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604, extension 200, and learn about active money managers that had positive returns in those years. Listen to Anil Vazirani on the Money Radio Show every Tuesday at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 a.m. to learn about the concept of the principal-protected low-cost new generation annuity and why it's superior in most cases than the high-risk, high-fee variable annuity and the obsolete hybrid income annuity. Call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604, extension 200, to set up your complimentary strategy session. Or go online at www.theripa.com. How strong and stable are the vital signs of your financial institution? Learn about the Comdex rating score of your insurance company that your banker, broker, and insurance agent may not want you to know. Listen to Anil Vazirani and On the Money every Tuesday at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 a.m. or give him a call at 800-957-5604, extension 200, to set up your complimentary strategy session today. You can also go online to www.theripa.com. That's THERIPA.com. Let Anil help you set up your secure retirement today. Don't wait. Call 800-957-5604, extension 200. Retire and stay retired. Safe, smart, and secure. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Read the prospectus for risk, fees, and charges. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
The Phoenix Suitcase Party takes place this Friday, benefiting Phoenix Children's Hospital and Children in Need Foundation. Visit PhoenixSuitcaseParty.com and enter promo code GBOONE. That's GBOONE.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
And welcome back. I'm Paul Fredricks, working along with Bob Roth. He is out of the radio station today, and I'm filling in for him on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 93.3 FM. Thank you for joining Health Futures, taking stock in you. And Ashley, thank you for bringing us in on Wings, Paul McCartney and Wings right there. So thank you. That was appropriate with the wind and everything. I like that. And we're back with Dr. Loreman on our second segment on Health Futures. And we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to recap your history of how you got involved in pulmonary studies and work. And I want to ask you, what was it about lungs and lung diseases that really interested you to say, you know what, I'm going to take that step forward and I'm going to do pulmonary?
And I think it was really the challenge of being able to know that if you could do anything, there's certain diseases that are very treatable in pulmonary. And with those, you can make people feel a ton better. And if you can't treat them, you can also help people be comfortable. And I think it's so important.
Okay. So let's talk about the ones that are treatable. Let's go through a little bit of a list and pull them apart a little bit.
You know, asthma is a very treatable disease. COPD, when it's caught, is very treatable. It's not like we thought of it 30 years ago, that it's a death sentence. You're going to just get more short of breath, and that's going to be it. We can treat it. We can help patients. We have a lot more medicines than we ever had before. So that means treating it in a way that they can still have a good lifestyle, even though they may be diagnosed with something. Right, and that's trying to keep their quality of life and their activity as good as we can and keep them as active as we can. Now, with asthma, what are some of the things that you do? They're just simple things with individuals that they can do to live a normal lifestyle. One of the things is really trying to maintain an ideal body weight. There's enough studies to show when you're above your ideal body weight that your asthma is worse. Wow. I think also trying to make sure you take your maintenance inhalers when you feel good, because that's why they're there, as opposed to just forgetting and then having to restart them when you feel bad. Okay.
So, a couple things. Watch our weight, right? And then keep our meds going at the right time.
Yep. Exercise, and if you have a lot of allergens that are contributing, trying to keep your house as allergen free as you can.
Now, does my diet have anything to do with that at all, or?
Not necessarily, unless you have a bunch of food allergies, then it could.
Right.
But that's usually not the case.
Okay. Now, you and I both know an individual that had another disease that we haven't talked about yet, and I'm just going to kind of go a little bit on that one, is pulmonary fibrosis. It's a challenging illness with lung disease. First of all, what is it? Describe it to our listeners, and let's talk about how we manage it.
It's a disease that we have no known cause for. We don't know why people get it. It basically stiffens the lungs, and it progresses very, very quickly. And it's not been until the last 6 months that we've had any treatment for it. So the prognosis has been very, very poor. But we're hopeful that the new 2 medicines we have released are going to help patients, and also there's still a lot of research studies out there promoting more medicines for it.
Now, is that becoming a more prominent illness with pulmonary diseases, or is it still a minute percentage?
It's still a small percentage, but we're diagnosing it earlier and better with the invention of high-resolution CTs that we didn't have 10, 20 years ago. And with exams where people are realizing the differences. Okay.
And that's obviously different than COPD because the pulmonary fibrosis actually affects the flexibility, if you will, of the lung tissues.
Completely different.
And it makes it harden, if I'm understanding it correctly, it hardens and crystallizes it, if it will.
It does. It does. It makes the cells more hard. They can't breathe as well. The lung becomes restricted. It can't move as well. And patients become more short of breath very quickly.
Okay. Now we're going to go back to your practice again. And describe your method of practice in a nutshell. How would you describe it?
I'm not sure I'm a whole lot different than any other pulmonologist. I like to listen to the patient, listen to what their story is, let them go back however long they need to tell me, do the physical examination, then be able to look at the studies that are provided or get the ones that I need, and try to tie it all together. It becomes a piece of a puzzle.
Right. So when they're telling you their story, what are some of the interesting things that you've noticed about people? Is there a common thread with certain illnesses?
There is. I certainly like to know how short of breath they are, how long. One of the questions I like to ask is, what could you do 5 years ago that you can't do now? Because many of the patients I see say, I've been short of breath for a month, where in reality, they've been short of breath for a year or longer.
Wow.
The other interesting thing that I like to know is when they go to Walmart or when they go to any store, do they use a cart? Because when they use the cart, their respiratory muscles are getting relieved. So they may be able to do a lot longer in those stores than if they didn't have a cart.
So that's a good thing, is if you do have a pulmonary illness, consider using that shopping cart that's motorized.
Well, not the motorized one, even just the regular one that they put their hands down and push. It decreases their work of breathing going through the store. So if they are having trouble, that's one thing that helps them a lot. Now,
speaking of that, relieving some pressure on your lungs, I found out working at a certain hospital as a chaplain there for a while that when people are recovering from major surgery, that probably the worst things they can do is what we have them do, and that's laying down in a bed, right? Why is that bad for my lungs?
It's going to cause atelectasis, which means a sticking together of mucus. You're not going to breathe as deep. The pain is going to be more. I always tell my patients, get out of bed. They're always mad at me after major surgeries, but get out of bed, start walking, be in the chair. The more active you are, the better you're going to do.
Right, and that gives your lungs a chance to expand and to be productive in a cough, right, to get rid of any mucus or phlegm that might be in there.
Absolutely. The longer you stay in bed, the more likely that mucus is going to collect, and the more pain you're going to be in when you try to get it out.
Okay, so that includes even at home. Isn't it? Whether you're sitting in a recliner chair or some other thing, it's best to get up and at least take a few steps around the kitchen table or around the block or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. There's a popular saying, a body in motion stays in motion.
Or, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right?
And that is true with the lungs as well.
That's great advice. What else would you say about your background, your practice, what you like to do with patients? What excites you about pulmonary?
You know, I really get excited just trying to get some patients into clinical trials if I don't have anything that I can offer them. Trying to really just get them to open up and tell me what their worries are, because I may be dealing with the disease, but if they're worried about something completely different, then it doesn't help them if I send them out just with medicines. You know, sometimes they're worried about the cost of medicine. Sometimes they'll tell me, well, I think I've got this, or this because a friend had that. And you have to alleviate those fears.
Gotcha. So sometimes they come in with psychosocial issues going on possibly, or they think they have this diagnosis when in fact, you know, the history and physical might say something different.
That's absolutely true. And I think you have to always ask the patient, what are you most afraid of? Because it's the fear often that they're going to do poorly from something when they may not at all. And if you relieve that fear, the patient feels a lot better.
Perfect. Well, I got to tell you, Dr. Loreman, it is such a treasure to have you in the studio today and here on Health Futures. And I'm sitting in for Bob Roth. My name's Paul Fredricks, and I'm the Vice President of Client Services at Cypress HomeCare. You're listening to Dr. Lorie Loreman. She's a pulmonologist, and she is educating us on how to breathe easier, how to take the wind and put it back into your life, make it a little bit easier. And, you know, you can always catch her on the web. You can go to her practice. Can we plug your practice here? Would that be good?
We absolutely can.
Why don't you do that?
I'm a member of Arizona Pulmonary Specialists, the Scottsdale Division at 9700 North 91st Street. Our phone number is 480-614-2000, and we have plenty of providers willing to see everybody.
How many providers are there?
There are about 10 providers now.
Holy moly. 10 providers doing...
Big group, doing pulmonary, and then some do the critical care unit as well.
And you guys are on the second floor.
We're on the second floor, but there is an elevator. We get asked about that all the time. There's an elevator.
That makes it easy. Well, we got about a minute left in this segment. What would you tell our audience? Another practical tip. The first one was, if you're smoking, quit. And if you're thinking about it, don't even think about it. Don't even go there. What's a second tip that we can tell our audience?
You know, I think the second tip is don't go out in the dust storms. Stay inside. If you're stuck in it, stay in your car with the windows up, and don't turn the air conditioning on because it'll just go right through the car.
Even if you have the air recirculating, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great tip. Don't smoke and stay out of the haboobs, right?
Absolutely.
Or the dust storms that we have. Well, there's a lot of them coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Health Futures, and I'm Paul Fredricks, filling in for Bob Roth. And we're excited that you're here because we are taking stock in your health. And Dr. Lorie Loreman is our special guest today, doing that, helping you take another deep breath of fresh air, not only literally, but also for your mental and well-being and physical well-being. I'm Paul Fredricks. We'll be back in just a moment on Health Futures.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Recovery continues at the crash site of that German Airbus in the French Alps. Through an interpreter, Rescue Captain Yves Navarchot says it's gruesome work.
We
indeed found bodies, and as you understood, they weren't full bodies. There are very few, almost none, that are in one piece.
Today, evidence turned up showing co-pilot Andreas Lubitz hid medical evidence that he was unfit for work. University of Oklahoma President David Bourne is still angry about the racist chants that led to the shutdown of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity.
This is a problem in America. We've had an epidemic of racism all across our country. Ferguson, Missouri might be the best known case, but it's all across our country, every day, every week.
Retiring Senator Harry Reid has endorsed Chuck Schumer to succeed him as minority leader. And Wall Street is doing better today, better than yesterday. Right now, the Dow is up 9 points. NASDAQ has gained 15. The S&P is ahead 2. I'm Evan Haining.
Looking forward to your tax refund? So are identity thieves who steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hardworking Americans just like you. Once identity thieves get a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually all the information they need to steal your identity and even your life savings is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus. LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides protection for your Social Security number, bank accounts, investments, even the equity in your home. And while no one can stop all identity theft and nobody can monitor every single business, LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If you're filing taxes this year, especially if you're filing online, get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. Visit LifeLock.com and use promo code AWARE or call and mention AWARE to save 10%. Call 800-305-2203. 800-305-2203. 800-305-2203.
When people want to talk about money, they get their talking points right where you are now. Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM.
Your time is too valuable to be wasted in a doctor's waiting room. Consolari Personal Physician Services offers a completely unique approach to the traditional business model of the medical practice. Board-certified internal medicine Dr. Carrie Bordinko only works with a limited number of patients. Why? Because she's going to know you on a personal level and understand your needs and unique health concerns. Imagine seeing your physician on your schedule whenever you want. As medicine has advanced, the doctor-patient relationship has declined. At Consolari, we've decided to change that. Don't tie yourself to a single medical institution or a large network of doctors where you quickly become a faceless patient number in the crowd. Go to ConsolaryMD.com and schedule your free initial consultation. That's ConsolaryMD.com. Our dedication to you and your health is what will always set us apart from any other healthcare provider. That is the Consolari difference. We put healthcare back in your hands.
Lucia Capital Group, customizing investment strategies that address our clients' biggest concerns. Here's Ray Lucia Jr., chairman of Lucia Capital Group.
We recently surveyed our clients, and you know what we learned? Their number one concern is outliving their money. With interest rates near all-time lows, that may create a greater challenge for fixed-income investors. Stock market volatility also ranks as a major concern. Right now, stock values are near all-time highs, but what if the market suffers a serious setback like in 2008? At Lucia Capital Group, we know unpredictability means clients need flexibility.
At Lucia Capital Group, our team of advisors offer personalized strategies in a fully integrated wealth management platform to address your biggest concerns. Call 800-644-1150 to schedule a complimentary consultation with an advisor. 800-644-1150 or visit luciacap.com. That's luciacap.com. Securities offered through Lucia Securities LLC, member FINRA SIPC, a subsidiary of Lucia Capital Group and affiliate of Lucia Wealth Services.
Toyota's One for Everyone sales event is going on now with low financing, special cashback offers, and more. Visit your Valley Toyota dealers or valleytoyotadealers.com today.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. The recent rise in gas prices and some bad weather has some of us feeling a bit less optimistic this month. The final March reading on consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan is down a couple of ticks from February. A U of M economist said the biggest decline was among lower-income households whose budgets are more sensitive to higher utility costs and disruptions in work hours. Dow Chemical said it would split off a large portion of its chlorine business and merge it with smaller chemicals maker Olin in a deal valued at $5 billion. Dow's move away from chlorine, which it has produced for more than 100 years, is part of a shift to focus on higher margin products. Dow shares are up 3%. Olin shares are up more than 18%. The broader market is showing small gains at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 1 point. The Nasdaq Composite is ahead 14, and the S&P 500 is up 1.5 points. That's Your Money Now.
Contracts that never end. Infuriating customer service. Rate plans that make your head explode. The old rules of wireless have never really worked, especially for business. T-Mobile has sent those rules to the shredder. Our Simple Choice plan delivers clear, straightforward rates. No haggling and no begging required. Now our best price is the only price. And we'll lock in your rates without locking you into a contract. It's the uncontract. We make the guarantees, and you keep all the freedom. And your T-Mobile business account comes with 24/7 support from a dedicated business account team at no extra charge. Officially putting an end to DIY wireless. T-Mobile is changing the way business does wireless. Switch today at T-Mobile.com/business.
Qualifying service but no long-term contract required. Rate lock applies to the Simple Choice plan. Unlimited high-speed data pricing good for at least 2 years. High-speed data allotments price locked at speeds available at time of activation up to 42 megabits per second. See a T-Mobile store for offer details.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
And it's an honor to fill the seat for Bob Roth. I'm Paul Fredricks, and Bob is taking a well-deserved day off on the radio, and I am sitting in for him, sitting behind the broadcasting microphone, and what a treat it is to be here, not only in his stead, but talking to you, the listener, and then our special guest as well, Dr. Lorie Loreman. We've reviewed basically where pulmonology came from, how young it is as far as a study and discipline in the healthcare world. We've talked about your background. This segment, we're going to talk about a little more practical things for the average consumer, and healthcare is becoming a consumer be aware, consumer understand where you're going, what you're looking at. Who should get a lung exam?
I think anybody who has shortness of breath that's unexplained by something that they may already have. People who smoked greater than 1 pack a day for 10 years. Anybody who has wheezing that's unexplained. And I think if you're concerned, get one.
Right. Any reason, get one. It's just a quick check by a specialist like you, right?
Easy to do, and we can do lung tests to make sure everything's okay.
Now, what's that little tool called where you, after a surgery, you blow the ball up and
the incentive spirometer.
Yeah, the spirometer. It looks like an old carnival game, where you're trying to hit the bell at the top, but you're just pushing the ball to the top, right?
It does, but it's a great help post-operatively. And they have two different kinds. One where it's kind of a valve type mechanism, the other where they have the 3 balls. And the goal is not to get them all the way up. The goal is to breathe in and hold in as much as you can and try to keep them at an equal level, which most people mistake, and try to get them all up and take a quick breath in. But it's to get them to breathe in deeply and to try to hold it so it opens up the bottom portions of their lung.
So what we want to do is we want to give you a practical advice, listeners, and that is take a deep breath right now and get a nice, fresh lung filled of clean air. Take that in, take a deep breath. In fact, it's good to pause during the day and do that, isn't it?
It's good for your lungs and it's good for your mental health.
Right.
3-second breath in through your nose, 3 seconds out. It makes you incredibly calmer and it opens up your lungs.
Great. Does that regulate our blood pressure too? Does that help a little bit at all?
It can a little bit, because the calmer we are, the better our blood pressure is.
Exactly. That's fantastic. So where are we at now with pulmonary diseases, Dr. Loreman?
Yeah, we're really making a lot of progress. There's some new takeoffs of the field, interventional pulmonology, where stents can be placed, lasers can be used. There's some new studies with placing endobronchial valves into lungs with patients with COPD,
right,
to try to decrease how hyperinflated they become and make them breathe better. For asthmatics, there's something now called bronchial thermoplasty, where you're able to take a catheter in and kind of heat up some of the areas and scar them so that they don't collapse and patients can breathe better with it.
Wow. You just listed off a ton of things. Anything there that really interests you that you want to talk about more?
I think the bronchial thermoplasty is interesting, and I think it was studied for a long time, been approved recently, and trying to do more of it. I don't personally do it myself, but I do have partners that do. I think it's an interesting thing to try to get really bad asthmatics under better control. I think the more we see, the more we're going to do. We have research studies that are going on. One of the new things down the line for asthma and some other diseases are biologic agents, such are used in rheumatoid arthritis to decrease inflammation. They're being trialed in patients with COPD and asthma, and I think they're going to be very helpful.
That's great. I don't know, listeners, I'm learning a ton right now listening to Dr. Loreman. And you mentioned laser treatments as well. Can we expand on that a little bit more?
We can. The laser are for patients that usually come to us with lung cancer and are found to have blockages in their bronchial tubes.
Okay.
And it helps to be able to take the laser and to get those masses out. It helps people breathe better, and then they can have different types of therapy after that may be helpful to them.
Well, that's fantastic. And then does that help eliminate any tumors as well, possibly?
It doesn't necessarily eliminate the other tumors that are there, but it clears the bronchial passage, and it is very helpful. There's something that one of my partners does called endobronchial ultrasound, where before, if you were trying to stage lung cancer, everybody required a surgical procedure called a mediastinoscopy. Now this can all be done with a bronchoscope and an ultrasound on the end of the bronchoscope, where a needle is placed right into the lymph node, because at the end, with the echocardiogram, sort of, the ultrasound that's at the end, they're able to put a needle right into the lymph node. They have a cytopathologist right on site, and they can tell if they're in it or not.
Wow. So that's a huge advancement in pulmonary studies.
That is absolutely huge, and it's decreased the need for surgical interventions, the risk of general anesthesia, and it really has begun to take off.
Minimally invasive as well.
Very minimally invasive.
And that has helped. How long has that been going on?
That's been going on about 6 years now, and I think really becoming the standard of care.
And do they see advancements in that treatment at all, and where those advancements going?
It's really a nice study, because we would otherwise possibly send patients to surgery that we wouldn't help, and now we can avoid the surgical intervention if we know we're not going to help them, and that's a big surgery. We want people to make sure that that they're able to come through it without problems, and we don't want to take people to surgery that don't need it.
Right. Which pulmonary illnesses caused the biggest frustration for you as far as treatment? And gosh, I wish we had something else we could do here.
I think one of the biggest ones is idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. We have 2 new treatments out. They are good, but they have a lot of side effects. And the time from diagnosis is very short to the progression to really end-stage disease. And I think that's very, very frustrating, because we don't know what causes it, and we don't always know what to do with it.
Right. When you say idiopathic, educate me. I'm a simple blue-collar guy.
It means we have no clue what's causing it.
We don't know the source.
Have no source, no etiology at all.
All right, we got less than a minute. Here's our third tip, everybody. Dr. Loreman's going to give us our third hot tip of keeping healthy lungs.
Exercise, exercise, exercise.
And you do that. I
do.
What do you do for exercise?
Well, I ride my bike and I do some strength training.
Perfect. You're listening to Paul Fredricks on Health Futures. We're taking stock in you, and we want to help you breathe easier today. Dr. Loreman is our special, wonderful guest today, and we're helping you understand what it means to breathe easier in a town full of dust. And we'll be back in our 4th segment in just a minute. If you need in-home care, please be sure to call us at Cypress HomeCare at 602-264-8009. We'll be right back with segment 4.
Are you ready to start receiving Social Security? Do you have a plan on how you're going to withdraw it? Call Certified Financial Planner Nancy Fleming of Fleming Financial Services to learn more about the role Social Security plays in your overall retirement plan. Will Social Security be the foundation for you? Is it a nice addition to what you've already planned out, or is it going to be better for you to wait to start receiving your Social Security benefit, or should you start sooner? These are very important questions you need to ask yourself before you retire. Call Nancy Fleming today to schedule your free Social Security analysis. 480-632-8770. Nancy Fleming is driven by one focused goal: to help clients grow, protect, and transfer all they've worked so hard to achieve. 480-632-8770. That's 480-632-8770, or visit FlemingFinancialServices.com. By contacting Fleming Financial Services, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of investment or insurance products.
Be a part of something special this Friday night and join the Active 2030 Club of Phoenix for their annual Phoenix Suitcase Party, benefiting the Phoenix Children's Hospital and the Children in Need Foundation. The Phoenix Suitcase Party will take place in Signature Flight Support's private luxury hangar at Scottsdale Airport. Guests will bring a packed suitcase, walk the red carpet, and enjoy an evening of cocktails, dancing, light appetizers, a silent auction, and casino games for raffle. At approximately 10 p.m., the evening's grand prize raffle drawing will take place, and the winner will board a private plane and depart immediately for a build-your-own-adventure weekend in Las Vegas, complete with 5-star accommodations, private transportation, exclusive access, and a weekend never to be forgotten. Visit PhoenixSuitcaseParty.com and enter discount code GBOON. That's PhoenixSuitcaseParty.com and enter the discount promo code GBOONE and experience a red carpet charity event like no other.
Mcdowell Mountain Music Festival, Arizona's premier music festival, is coming back to downtown Phoenix. 23 bands over 3 exciting days. Purchase tickets now at mmmf.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
And what a joy it is to be sitting in for Bob Roth. My name's Paul Fredricks, and we are definitely taking stock in you on this issue of Health Futures, because we're talking about something so vital. You know what? Without your lungs, it's pretty hard to exist anymore, right? So take another deep breath. We're all taking a deep breath right now as we're bringing Dr. Loreman back for segment 4. And we want to help you breathe easier in this great dusty town as I closed out the last segment. And Dr. Loreman, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
What a joy. You know, we laugh a lot, and we've had a great history together. We talked about the past of pulmonary diseases, where it's at now. Where do we see it going in the future?
I think there's going to be a lot more developments down the pike in regards to drug therapy, inhaled therapy, and even more so in the biologic therapy, those drugs that are more targeted. We're seeing this in lung cancer. We're able to target genetic markers now that we couldn't 6 years ago. And by doing that, we're able to target the drugs that are most appropriate for patients, as opposed to using kind of a shotgun approach.
Okay, now you've said a mouthful just there. And for the average lay person like me, you lost me at biological treatment. So let's back that train up a little bit.
There's a lot of new agents called biologics that work against, when your body works against itself, what we would call an autoimmune disease, where the body kind of goes against itself. And new ways to prevent that from happening. There's studies now with what we call interleukins for asthma and COPD, and they'll be out. The initial studies look good. They'll be out shortly, I think, to determine whether those drugs will be available. In regards to lung cancer, we are now able to identify genetic markers through the tissue and through genetic analysis, and then know which drugs to use that target those type of tumors better than other types. Wow.
Now, is there something specific that we could talk about that's doing that right now, a certain lung disease, or certain, because there's different types of lung cancer, isn't there?
There is. There's 2 broad types, non-small cell, which, if at all possible, caught early, is a surgical disease. And there's small cell, which is not a surgical disease. And again, it all depends how they present. Lung cancer is the #1 killer in both men and women now.
Wow.
And we don't, unfortunately, have enough research money into it, but hopefully we will continue to put what we have into it and try to make progress forward.
Now, what about lung transplants? We haven't really talked about that. Are you involved in that, or do you know some of your associates that are involved in that?
Absolutely. There's a lung transplant center at St. Joseph's Hospital that is relatively new in regards to transplant centers. We look at our patients with COPD that have very low, what we call FEV1s, how much air they can blow out, and we try to get the appropriate patients down there so they can be transplanted. Pulmonary fibrosis is another disease that if we catch it early enough, patients can be listed for transplant.
How long are they usually waiting for a lung transplant?
It all depends on the patient. It used to be once you got in line, you stayed in line at the same number. So if you were number 100, the chances of surviving were very poor.
Okay.
Now they use a lung allocation score, and the sicker you get, you move up the list.
Okay.
But the lung size has to fit the person along with some other blood analysis that they do to make sure that the rejection is the chance of rejection is least likely.
All the more reason, we've talked about this on our show previously, and that is getting your healthcare decisions made out and making sure that if you do want to donate your organs, that's written out as well, right?
That is very, very important. It's important that people know what your wishes are. Every single one of us are different. And it doesn't matter if you're 60 or you're 20. We never know what's going to happen. We should have those decisions made.
All right. Ashley, our resident expert on pulmonary, asked us to talk about two diseases or illnesses that we haven't talked about with pulmonary, and that is pneumonia and bronchitis. Let's talk about those. How are they different? How are they the same?
Bronchitis is really a disease of the airways where it gets filled with mucus. It usually is viral, although there are bacterial ones, and they can be very difficult to discern from each other. Pneumonia really requires an X-ray to treat it. You get a very high suspicion on your clinical exam, but it needs an X-ray to be sure that it actually is a pneumonia. Most patients can be treated as outpatients. Some that become very ill need to be treated as inpatients. Anybody with chronic illness or over 65 should have their pneumovax, their yearly flu vaccinations, and now a new vaccination called Prevnar 13.
Now, what is that?
It's a different type of pneumonia vaccination that targets different types of strep pneumonia strains than the Pneumovax does.
Okay, so it's more, it's broader?
It's a bit broader.
Right, but it's specific in its own, and in how it affects or how it attacks the genes or the strains of pneumonia. Yeah,
it's actually been shown in children to help remarkably, and it went from children to studies in adults and been shown recently to be very, very effective in adults. You have to wait 6 months to a year after your Pneumovax to get it, but it is well worth getting.
Wow. So when we got a couple minutes left here, let's talk about some practical things. What are some more things that we can do to breathe easier, to take care of our lungs better, Dr. Loreman?
I think a lot of it is what we said. Exercise, eat right. If you're eating right, you're going to be at your ideal body weight. Get your vaccinations. Yearly influenza shots cut down on your risks of pneumonia and post problems. If you do get influenza, you're not going to get it as severely. And doing those things are going to be what really helps you. And exercise, exercise, exercise.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good advice. And it doesn't have to be anything. If you can go to a gym, that's great. But just simple things like walking.
All you need to do is walk. And I think the other thing is, remember, if you are short of breath and you're aging, you do not get short of breath because you're aging. It is always something abnormal.
So if that is happening to you, you need to call your doctor right away and get a lung check, right? Dr.
You do, because any exercise where you get short of breath, it all should be heart limited as we age, not lung limited.
Well, why don't you give your number out again and your location of your office?
And it's 9700 North 91st Street, and the number is 480-614-2000.
And you're on the second floor, but there is an elevator.
We are on the second floor, but there is an elevator, and all of my patients find that remarkably funny that the pulmonologist is on the second floor.
I got a question for you. Where would you like to see the study of pulmonology go from here? If you could direct the wind, so to speak.
I would like to see two things. One, more research into lung cancer therapy, and two, a lot more money go into anti-smoking campaigns.
Okay.
Because if we can keep people from smoking or stop smoking, we have a much better chance of keeping them healthy.
Okay, so more research, more anti-smoking, and then what was the first one again?
More research dollars into lung cancer.
Right, and the reason why that probably doesn't get as a lot of attention is because there's a lot of other cancers that, breast cancer gets a lot of attention every fall with the NFL and everything like that, and pancreatic cancer gets a lot of research. But why doesn't lung cancer get a lot of plugs?
I think people don't realize it, or they feel that people did it to themselves. Lung cancer causes more deaths per year than breast cancer, colon cancer, and diabetes put together.
You're kidding.
No.
Say that again.
Lung cancer causes more deaths per year than breast cancer, diabetes, and colon cancer put together.
My goodness. And it's not always smoking related, is it?
No. 20% of patients that get lung cancers are non-smokers.
Yeah, including the big one that we haven't even talked about is mesothelioma.
Correct. From asbestos exposure and years ago.
Yeah, I remember when I was telling my wife this the other day. In our elementary school and our junior high school, we still had asbestos insulations over pipes that were hot or cold, whatever it was. And I remember that we used to spray it down and go, oh, asbestos, you're going to get cancer. And now it's no joke, when you're older, you realize that. We've got about 45 seconds. Anything else you want to say, Dr. Loreman?
I just want to say, again, if you don't smoke, don't start. If you do, stop. And if there's anything we can help you with, just let us know.
It's been a great hour with you, Dr. Loreman.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm Paul Fredricks with Cypress HomeCare. We are here listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock, and you. And I hope this hour has helped you breathe easier. I hope this hour has helped you understand how to take better care of your lungs and who to call when you have a question. Because if you have any concern about your lungs, it's time to get a lung check and call Dr. Loreman. She'll be glad to see you. I'm Paul Fredericks with Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. Don't forget to call Cypress Home Care Solutions, because that's what we're about. We're all about solutions for your in-home care needs. 602-264-8009. Ask for any of our great schedulers. They'll be glad to talk to you. I'm Paul Fredericks, and we are out.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
NAU Lumberjack Basketball has made it to the quarterfinals of the CIT, the CollegeInsider.com tournament on Friday night, and Money Radio is where you can catch all of the action. The Kent State Golden Flashes come to the Sky Dome in Flagstaff for the first time ever to play the Lumberjacks Friday with a trip to the CIT semis on the line. Catch NAU versus Kent State starting Friday at 6:25 p.m. on Money Radio, 99.3 FM, 1510 AM, and the Money Radio app.
And 99.3 FM. Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix, the station you've relied on for more than 26 years to keep your financial future on track. We are Money Radio. Dow is up 37 points right now. The NASDAQ is up 29, and the S&P 500 is up 5. Oil down $2.97 at $48.44 a barrel.
Just ahead, Money Radio brings you the latest news, business news, Arizona business news, the weather and traffic. And it all starts